Welcome to Chinese history and mythology. Hello my friends, and welcome back to Chinese history and mythology. Last time, we ended with Zhouyu of Wei in a very awkward spot. He had just killed his own older brother, Marquis Swan of Wei, and grabbed the throne for himself. His seat on the throne was still warm, and the whole country was already whispering. He murdered his own brother to become ruler. Zhouyu felt guilty and insecure, so he pulled in his best buddy, Shi Hou, and said, in plain words, I need to fight a war and win something big. I need a military victory on my record so people will be scared of me and stop talking. The moment Shi Hou started thinking, his eyes went straight to Zhang. Back when Gongsun Hua made trouble in Zhang, Duke Shuang of Zhang used that chance to attack Wei. For Wei, that defeat was an old, deeply shameful memory. So these two did not just want to attack Zhang, they wanted to make it a big production. First, they pulled in 4 other states, Lu, Song, Chen, and Kai. Then they sent Ningyi to Song, and he delivered a very sharp pitch. Let us help you get rid of your real problem, Prince Feng. He's the threat to your throne. He talked so well that Marquis Sheng of Song was moved. He agreed to take the lead in attacking Zhen. In lieu, Prince Hui took the bribes from Wei and happily promised to send troops. Chen and Tai saw that the Zhou king wasn't on good terms with Zhang either, so they also came along for the show under the name of punishing a guilty state. In a short time, the 5-state coalition was formed. Altogether, they had 1,300 war chariots. They rolled over and completely surrounded the east gate of Zhang's capital. No way in, no way out. Duke Shuang of Zhang, however, did not panic. He saw right through everyone's motives. Wei wanted prestige, Lu wanted benefits. Chen and Tai just wanted to pick a side and stand in the right camp. Only Song was truly afraid of Prince Feng and saw him as a serious threat. So Duke Shuang made his move step by step. First, he sent Prince Feng away to change and politely invited Marquis Shang of Song to go there in person and handle the matter himself. This clever move pulled the main Song army away from Zhang city walls. Then, Du Zhiwang sent Gong Ziel out of the east gate with 500 infantry. Their job was very clear. Target Wei's army only, fight a few rounds, and then pretend to lose. They were to slowly fall back toward the city, so that Shi Hou could isolate claim a clear victory in front of everyone, and then casually cut some rice in the fields to feed his troops. From Zhouyu's point of view, that was enough. We've washed away the old shame. We've won a battle. We've shown strength. The soldiers will be satisfied. But back home, things were still unstable. And Shi Hou kept reminding him of that? So Zhouyu finally listened and ordered a full retreat. On the surface, it looked like Wei had won the war. But if you really do the math, this round of 5 states attack Xia actually helped Du Zhuang of Zhang test every player on the field and gently pushed all the hidden danger back onto one person, Zhouyu himself. Now let's pick up the story and keep going with this mess in Wei. Previously we said Zhouyu of Wei worked with Shi Hou to assassinate his older brother, Marquis Wan of Wei, and seized the throne for himself. Not long after that, he pulled together a multi-state coalition to attack Zhang. On the surface, he claimed it was to avenge my father and wash away Wei's shame. But in truth, he wanted this war to build his reputation and scare his own people into obeying him. Today's episode begins on the road home after that war. This 5-state coalition had surrounded Zhang for only 5 days. According to Duke Zhuang's plan, Gong Ziel led 500 foot soldiers out of the east gate to fight Wei's troops. They fought a few rounds, then fell back on purpose, making it look like Zhang's side just couldn't match Wei's strength. Shi Hou saw all this and felt extremely pleased with himself. In his eyes, he had just won a very clean, very beautiful battle. So he took the initiative and suggested, we should pull the army back now. The other generals really couldn't understand this at all. In their heads, they were thinking, we finally fought a winning battle. Morale is high, the troops are eager to press forward. Why don't we seize the chance and keep pushing? Why are we talking about going home now? What is this? So they all rushed over together to see Zhouyu and report, my lord, right now our troops are full of energy. This is the perfect moment to attack hard. But Minister Shi suddenly orders a retreat. We really don't understand his reasoning, so we've come to ask for your judgment." Zhouyu listened and started to feel unsure as well. He called Shi Hou, in his tone not very friendly, and asked, "The troops are fired up, and you insist on withdrawing the army. What exactly is going on? You'd better give me a clear answer." Shi Hou looked around and saw that many others were still in the tent. He said, "I do have something to say, but it's not suitable to say in front of everyone. Please ask them to step outside first, then I'll explain in detail." Zhouyu waved his hand and had the others leave, keeping only Shi Hou with him. Once the tent was quiet again, Shi Hou finally spoke, slowly but directly. "The army of Zhang is never easy to deal with. You, my lord, know that very well." Duke Zhuang of Zing also has a title at the Zhou court. He serves as an assistant to the Son of Heaven. In other words, he's a key minister helping the Zhou king govern. Right now, no matter how we spin it, we can say that we've already won this battle. Zhang's troops retreated in front of us. We cut their rice to feed our soldiers. As far as the story goes, we've avenged past shame and raised our prestige. That banner is held up already. But, my lord, don't forget, you only just took the throne. The whole country has just gone through something as shocking as a younger brother killing his older brother and grabbing power. Many people still don't accept you in their hearts. At a time like this, instead of sitting in the capital to study the situation, you're personally leading the main army outside the state. If we stay out too long and something happens back home, will you really have time to rush back and fix it? If it comes to that, no matter how many victories we win outside, they won't be worth anything." Zhouyu froze for a second when he heard this. Then he slowly nodded and said, "So that's what you were thinking? You have a point. I was only looking ahead, and I really hadn't thought enough about the trouble that might be brewing at home." Right around then, the generals from Lu, Tai, and Chen started coming into the command tent one after another to see Zhouyu. They first congratulated Wei on winning the battle. Then, in a rather polite, roundabout way, they expressed a shared idea. "We've all helped Wei wash away its shame in this war. We've done you a favor and helped you vent your anger down now that the goal is met. We should each go back to our own countries and calm our own people." Zhouyu saw that everyone wanted to leave. He couldn't exactly force them to stay, so he smiled and said, "You've all worked hard. Please go home and take care of your people. If anything happens in the future, we'll help one another again." And just like that, each state's army packed up, pulled their stakes, and started marching home. The five-state coalition had arrived with great noise and momentum, shaking the land for 5 days, and then scattered just as quickly. Shi Hou felt very proud of his own planning this time. They had won a battle, helped Zhouyu keep the home front stable, and now the troops were heading back in neat lines. Along the road, war chariots stretched out in a long line. The war drums beat in a steady rhythm. Soldiers sang victory songs, escorting Zhouyu back to the state of Wei like a triumphant ruler. But when they moved off the main road and passed through villages, what they heard from the roadside was not praise. Out in the fields, the peasants were standing in small groups. They weren't singing fancy ballads. They were singing something very plain and very sharp. "One brother is dead. The younger brother takes the throne. We've just put down our hoes, and now we have to wear armor again. Our songs and dances are turned into war. When will our days ever be peaceful? We suffer and have nowhere to speak. Datu will go to Lujiang and tell the Zhou king." The song drifted again and again toward the line of chariots. The words were simple, but the meaning could not be clearer. "You, Zhouyu, killed your own brother. You go to war, and we are the ones paying the price. We're bitter, but we have nowhere to complain." On the chariot, Zhouyu's face darkened at once. He turned to the people next to him and said, "Did you hear that? The common folk still have a lot of anger toward me. This is not a good sign. If the people of the state keep seeing me like this, how can I ever sit firmly on this throne?" Shi Hou hurried to comfort him. "My lord, don't be too discouraged. Right now, the people still remember the former ruler, so of course they feel resentful. That's only natural. If you want them to truly settle down, there is one fastest way to do it. Zhouyu quickly asked, "What way?" Shi Hou said, "My father, Shi Que, used to be the top minister of Wei. He held great power, and his character was excellent. For many years, he handled affairs fairly and never played favorites. Because of this, the elders and the common people in Wei all trust him deeply. If you can invite him back to court to help you govern, and people see that even Shi Que is willing to stand by your side, they will naturally accept you as their ruler." Zhouyu thought this over and felt it made a lot of sense. "In that case, I'll invite the old gentleman to come out and help me," he said. He immediately ordered rich gifts to be prepared, a pair of fine, white jade pieces, and 500 measures of millet, all very valuable offerings. He then sent an envoy with great ceremony to visit Shi Que, to ask about his health on one hand, and on the other, to pass on Zhou유's respect and his wish to ask Shi Que to come back and assist in government. When the envoy arrived at Shi Que's home, he carefully laid out the gifts, respectfully explained Zhou유's intentions, and passed on every word. Shi Que simply shook his head and answered coldly, "I am old now. My health is not good. I will not return to court. Take the gifts back. I won't accept them. Since I have already retired, I truly do not plan to interfere in state affairs again." The envoy had no choice but to leave awkwardly and go back to report. When Zhouyu heard this, he felt stuck. "So your father refuses to come see me," he said. "If I go visit him in person, will he agree to meet me? Do you think that would be appropriate?" Shi Hou knew his father's temper very well. He replied, "If my lord goes in person, I'm afraid my father still won't agree to see you. It would be better to let me go back and persuade him again. I'll also pass on your sincerity, so he knows you truly respect him." Zhouyu felt that this was the only option left, so he agreed. Shi Hou went home and repeated Zhou유's thoughts to his father, word for word. At the end, he said, "The ruler respects you very much and relies on you. It's just that he has only just taken the throne. People in the state are unsettled, and he feels insecure. That's why he wants to ask you for advice." Shi Que listened and then asked in return, "What kind of advice does he want? What is he really afraid of?" Shi Hou answered, "He's afraid that common people will not accept him as ruler, and he's afraid the other feudal lords won't recognize him either. When he thinks of this, he wants to ask you for a way out." Shi Que went quiet for a moment, then said, "To be a feudal lord is not something you decide for yourself. It's not something you gain just because your army is strong. Your status comes from the Son of Heaven. As long as the Zhou king recognizes you and grants you the proper robes and chariot of a marquis, only then are you a legitimate ruler in name and in law. If he can get Zhou King Wan to openly acknowledge him, his seat on the throne will be solid. Even if people keep talking, they can no longer say he is a traitor sitting on a stolen throne." Shi Hou nodded. "That sounds good," he said. "But if my lord suddenly goes to court in Luyong for no clear reason, Zhou King Wan will surely suspect something and think Wingwei have some hidden issue. He'll feel uneasy. That might not be a good start. It would be better if we first find someone that Zhou King Wan trusts to speak a few words for us, so the king has some preparation in his heart." Shi Que said, "You're right. We do need someone to speak in the middle. The Marquis of Chen has always been loyal to the Zhou royal house, and Zhou King Wan values him very much. Also, Wei and Chen already have a good relationship. In the recent campaign against Zhen, we even borrowed troops from Chen. Right now, Chen has no grudge against Wei. They only dislike the act of killing one's ruler. If Zhouyu goes in person to the state of Chen and asks Marquis Chen for help, Marquis Chen will surely be willing to speak on his behalf at the Zhou court. Once Marquis Chen has paved the way in Luyang, and Zhouyu then goes to see King Wan, everything will be much easier." Shi Hou quickly took his father's words back to Zhouyu, nearly unchanged. When Zhouyu heard this, he was overjoyed. "This is an excellent idea," he said. "We can use our friendship with Chen, and at the same time, wash my reputation in front of the Zhou king." He immediately prepared chariots and gifts for the journey. and asked Shi Hou to travel with him as an escort and assistant on the road to Chen. But this trip, in Shi Que's mind, had another, completely different meaning. Shi Que saw this journey as a chance to send them both to the knife. He knew, very clearly, if Zhouyu and Shi Hou stayed alive, the chaos in Wei would never truly end, and other states in the world would copy their example. So, in secret, Shi Que cut his own finger and used his blood to write a letter. He entrusted this bloody letter to a trusted agent and sent it to the state of Chen. The letter was not written directly to the Marquis of Chen. It was written to Shi Que's old friend of many years, the Chen minister, Zizan, asking Zizan to pass it on to Marquis Wan of Qin. The content of this blood-written letter was very clear. The main idea was, I, Shi Que, am an old minister of Wei. That Wei is not a large state, and yet we now suffer the great disaster of a ruler being killed and the throne usurped. On the surface, this was done by Zhou, but in truth, it is also because my useless son, Shi, who greedily chased after rank and wealth, and helped Zhouyu carry out this rebellion. These two men have rotten characters and unforgivable crimes. If they are not executed, then in the future, more people in other states will follow their example, and the world will be full of traitors and rebels. I am already old. I do not have the strength to do this myself. This is the only way I could think of. Now these two have come to Chen together. I deliberately allowed this to happen. I hope that Marquis Chen, for the sake of justice under heaven, will seize them both and put them to death according to the law, so that everyone under heaven will understand, killing your ruler or killing your own brother can never be forgiven. When Marquis Wan of Chen read this letter, he was deeply shaken. He turned to Zizalan and said, "What do you think we should do?" Zizian replied, "The people of Wei hates Zhouyu and Shi Hou, and we also despise what they have done." Now these two walked into Chen by themselves, like they have brought their necks to our doorstep. If we don't use this chance to punish them, then we are the ones who owe the world an explanation. Marquis Fuan nodded. "Then we'll act according to this," he said. Soon after, they set up a detailed plan to capture the two men. Meanwhile, Zhouyu and Shi, who arrived in Chen, completely unaware that they had walked into a trap. Marquis Wan sent Prince Tu out of the city to greet them and arranged for them to stay in the guest lodge, with good food and good rooms. When they were about to leave the lodge that day, Prince Tu said very politely, "Our Lord will receive you in the ancestral temple tomorrow and welcome both of you there in person." Zhouyu saw how respectfully Chen was treating him and felt very pleased. He thought to himself, "Looks like this new ruler of Wei is finally being recognized by other states." The next morning, very early, Marquis Wan of Chen had everything ready in the ancestral temple. Torches were lit to brighten the hall. Civil and military officials stood in two lines. The atmosphere was solemn and orderly, just like an official reception ceremony for important guests. Shi, who arrived first at the temple gate, there he saw a white wooden board standing at the door, with 8 characters written on it. Those who are unfaithful as ministers and unfilial as sons are not allowed to enter this temple. Shi, whose heart skipped a beat. Those 8 characters felt like they were aimed straight at him and Zhou. He couldn't help but ask Ziaizun, who stood by the door, "What does this plaque mean?" Ziaizun answered calmly, "This is a rule left by our former rulers. The ancestral temple is where we worship our ancestors. Anyone who has been unfaithful as a minister or unfilial as a son is not allowed to enter." Shi, who kept his face still, pretending nothing was wrong, but he felt a growing unease inside. Even so, he thought, "We're here as guests in the name of the state of Wei, and I'm here with the new ruler himself. Surely, Chen wouldn't dare move against us lightly." So, he still walked in. After a short while, Zhouyu arrived as well. Shi, who helped him down from the chariot and led him to the place prepared for guests to stand. Inside the ancestral hall, officials stood in rows. They chanted the formal phrases of welcome, raised and lowered their arms in rhythm, and everything on the surface looked like a respectful ceremony. Zhouyu straightened his robes and crown, ready to bow. Just as he was about to bend down, Ziyazun suddenly stepped forward beside Marquis Swan and shouted in a loud voice, "By order of the Son of Heaven, only the traitor who killed his ruler, Zhouyu, and his accomplice, Shi Hou, are to be seized. All others with them are not to be punished." As soon as the words left his mouth, armored soldiers who had been waiting in ambush rushed out, threw Zhouyu to the ground, and tied him up securely in just a few moves. Shi Hou was stunned. His first reaction was to pull his sword and fight back, but the more panicked he became, the harder it was to draw his blade. He ended up pushing the soldiers with his bare hands, knocking 2 of them down, but behind the temple walls, more troops had been lying in wait. They surrounded him at once, and soon had him tied up tight as well. The escorting soldiers of Wei were all posted farther outside the temple. They could only hear the noise inside and see the confusion from a distance. They had no idea what exactly had happened. Only when someone read Shi Que's blood letter out loud to them did they finally understand. This was a trap planned by the old minister of Wei himself, a way to use the law of the state and justice under heaven to execute these 2 men. When the Wei soldiers heard this, they also knew that Zhouyu had never been truly loved by the people. Even if they fought now, it would be pointless. A few officers talked among themselves, and in the end, no one dared to rescue them. They all quietly broke up and left. At first, Marquis Swan of Chen wanted to behead Zhouyu and Shi Hou immediately to show that justice had been done. But one of his ministers reminded him, "Shi Hou is Shi Que's own son. Even though we have taken Shi Que's letter, when it comes to the final decision on execution, we really should ask the old minister of Wei. Let the people of Wei decide the exact charges. Then in the future, no one will say that we overstepped our role." Marquis Swan agreed that this made sense, so he decided to hold off for the moment and keep them imprisoned first. Zhouyu was locked up in Puyi. Shi, who was held in the capital of Chen, they were kept in different places and forbidden to see each other. At the same time, fast riders were sent away with a message for Shi Que. "The men are in our hands. Please send someone from Wei to supervise the executions." Back in Wei, Shi Que had stayed quietly at home ever since his retirement. He rarely received guests. One day, his household came to report envoys from Chen have arrived. Carrying a letter from Marquis Wan, Shi Que immediately knew that the time for settling the final account had come. He put on his formal court clothes on purpose, went into the city to the main hall, and ordered the other ministers to gather as well. In front of everyone, he opened Marquis Wan's letter. Read it carefully, and then explained the contents to all present, Zhou and Shi, who have already been captured in Chen. Marquis Wan invites us of Wei to send our own officials to supervise the executions, so that no one in the future can question the way this was handled. Only then did the ministers suddenly understand that Shi Que had been planning for this day for a long time. They were shocked and deeply impressed. They said together, "This concerns the fate of our state. We should let the elder decide." Shi Que stood before them all, his tone firm and steady. "These 2 men," he said, "have the worst character imaginable. Their crimes are full to the brim. If they are not put to death, we will have failed our former ruler who was murdered, and we will have failed the people of Wei. Now, we must choose someone to supervise the execution. Who is willing to go to Puyi?" Right Minister Zhou stepped forward and said, "To kill traitors and rebels is something any loyal man should be willing to do. I may not be very talented, but my hatred for Zhouyu is very real. I volunteered to go to Pui and oversee his execution." Other ministers then tried to plead for Shi Hou. Zhouyu was the head. His guilt is the greatest. Shi Hou followed him and did wrong. But after all, he was a son that his father failed to control. Can we not treat him more lightly? The moment Shi Que heard this, his face darkened. He almost roared. Do you think I would show favoritism to this son of mine? Zhouyu walked down this path precisely because my son, Shi Hou, was by his side every day, giving him bad ideas. If I spare Shi Hou today, then I am leaving behind a living source of disaster. If more traitors appear in the future, who will bear that responsibility? If I protect my son now, then even if I stay alive, I will never again have the face to see my ancestors. He was extremely emotional at this point and added, if none of you has the heart to carry this out, then I will go to Chen myself. Even if I have to die there, I will make sure this unfilial son dies before me. If I do not, then the name Shi Que is no longer worthy of being called an old minister of Wei. At this moment, his retainer No Yangjin stepped forward and bowed deeply. Elder, he said, you do not need to go in person. Let me go to Chen to supervise Shi Hu's execution on your behalf. You should stay in Wei and guard the ancestral temple of our rulers. So, the plan was set. Right Minister Zhou would go to Puai to oversee the execution of Zhouyu. Nu Yangyan would go to Chen to oversee the execution of Shi Hou and personally witness his head fall. At the same time, Wei began preparing chariots and proper ritual gifts to travel to the state of Xing and bring back Prince Jin, the younger brother who had fled. They would restore him as the new ruler of Wei and bring the state's rightful line back into place. Later, when historians recorded this event, they praised Shi Que very highly. They called him a loyal minister who upheld righteousness, even to the point of destroying his own son. Writers and scholars of later generations said as well, most people in the world protect their children, even when the children have clearly done wrong. They either cover for them or turn a blind eye. Those who can truly place the greater moral order under heaven above their own family ties are extremely rare. Others also commented that Shi Que had not killed Shi Hou earlier on purpose. He waited until this moment, letting father and son be judged together with Zhouyu, because he had his own longer view out in this way, people under heaven would understand. Zhouyu's crime was not his alone. Those who gave him ideas, those who helped him rebel, bore the same weight of guilt. The sin of the ruler, the sin of the minister, all would be settled together, and only then could Wei truly leave behind this rebellion against the ruler without any leftover poison. By the end of this story, you can probably feel a very hard, very sharp theme. In Wei, the good name built up over generations. The trust and credit solely accumulated were almost completely destroyed by this pair, Zhouyu and Shi Hou, the lord and follower who killed and seized power to clean up this mess. The one who finally stepped out was an old minister who had already retired, and the price he paid was to send his own son to the execution ground with his own hands, just to give the people of Wei and the world under heaven an answer they could accept. Right Minister Zhou and Nu Yangjian left Wei together, heading to Chen to carry out this major task of executing the rebels in accordance with the law. When they arrived in Chen, they did not go straight to the executions. Instead, they first went to meet Marquis Wan of Chen. The two men bowed solemnly and said clearly, "It is thanks to you, my lord of Chen, that the chaos in Wei has finally been brought under control. Today, we are here both to express our gratitude and to carry out the law of our state." Marquis Wan politely invited them in, performed all the proper rituals, and with that the formal courtesies were done. Afterward, Right Minister Zhou and Nu Yanjin split up and went to their respective tasks. Right Minister Zhou went to Puyi. Once there, he ordered that Zhouyu be taken out of his cell and brought to the execution ground. Zhouyu already understood he had no way to escape his fate, but in his heart, he still felt unwilling to accept it. At the execution ground, the moment he saw Right Minister Zhou standing there, he shouted loudly, "Right Minister Zhou, I am your ruler, and you are my minister. How dare you come here to kill me? This is rebellion. This is treason. Right, Minister Zhou looked at him and answered calmly. In the state of Wei, someone has already done the act of a subject killing his own ruler. That person was you. Today, I am only doing what I learned from you. The meaning was simple and impossible to argue with. You killed your own brother and seized the throne. You broke the rules first. Now I kill you, and I am only following the path you started. Zhouyu heard this and knew he had nothing left to say. He also knew exactly what the world thought of him. At this moment, there was no one to defend him, no one to plead for mercy. He could only stretch out his neck and let the executioner end his life with a single stroke. Meanwhile, New Yanjin had gone to the capital of Chen to supervise the execution of Shi Hou. Shi Hou knew perfectly well what he had done and that he truly deserved death. As Nu Yanjian escorted him to the execution ground, Shi Hou lifted his head and said, "I know my crimes are too heavy. My death is well deserved. I have only one request. Could you put me on the prison cart and take me home to see my father once more? Let me kneel before him and hear him scold me one last time. If I can hear his voice again, maybe I will feel a little less bitter when I die." Nu Yangjian looked at him and replied directly, "I am here by your father's order, to kill you, an unfilial son and a disloyal minister. If you wish to see your father, I can bring your head back for him to look upon." With those words, he drew his sword and, without hesitation, cut off Shi Hou's head on the spot. This was the final step in Shi Que's resolve to kill his own son for the sake of righteousness. He did not strike the blow himself, but he had the entire act carried out exactly according to his will. At this point, the turmoil in Wei had finally been settled. As for Prince Jin, who had fled to the state of Xing, he received Wei's envoys telling him that Zhouyu was dead and that all the ministers and people of Wei wanted him to return and take the throne. Prince Jin packed his belongings and went back to Wei. When he arrived, the first thing he did was enter the ancestral temple known as the Wu Palace, where the rulers of Wei were worshipped. He knelt and reported everything to the ancestors' tablets: how Zhouyu rebelled, how he murdered his own elder brother, how Prince Jin fled, and how Zhouyu was finally executed. He recited the entire story from beginning to end, as if letting the ancestors hear it. After that, he held a proper and solemn funeral ceremony for his dead brother, the late ruler Wei Wangong, who had been murdered by Zhouyu. He restored to him the dignity owed to a ruler. Only then did Prince Jin formally ascend the throne, becoming the man later known as Wei Zhuangong. Once he became ruler, Wei Zhuangong understood very clearly that if Shi Que had not upheld righteousness, he had not risked his own reputation and sacrificed his own son, the state of Wei would have fallen apart long ago. So Wei Zhuangong issued an order honoring Shi Que as Gola, the elder of the state. It was a title meaning that this old man possessed the highest moral authority in the country, and that he and his descendants were entitled to serve as chief ministers for generations. Because of this case, because Chen had helped Wei execute Zhouyu and Shi Hou, the relationship between Wei and Chen also grew closer, shaped by a bond of shared danger. The two states became more trusting and more closely connected. Now that the Wei story is complete, let's shift back to Xian, where our main figure is still Xian Zhuangong. By this time, the crisis of the five-state coalition surrounding Xian had already been dismantled step by step. Wei had gone through its own internal rebellion and cleanup. Chen had drawn closer to Wei after executing the two traitors. Lu, Kais, and Chen each had their own concerns, and Song was busy chasing Prince Feng. One day, while Xian Zhuangong was in the palace discussing his next step, the gate officer came in and reported, "The same Prince Feng, who once fled from Song Tuo estate, has escaped from change and returned. He is at the palace gate, asking to see you." Zhen Zhuanggong ordered that Prince Feng be brought in at once. Prince Feng's clothes were dirty and torn, his expression exhausted, and the moment he saw Zhuanggong, he burst into tears. He explained everything while crying. "The Song army has taken change. They seized the city. In the chaos, I barely escaped with my life. I had nowhere else to go, so I came back to Xing once again, hoping you would still be willing to shelter me." Yuan Gong saw him crying so hard and felt moved. He ordered people to give him clean clothes, proper food, and a place to rest, and he comforted him gently. "Stay at the guest lodge for now. Rest well. I will have people take care of your daily needs. As for the future, we will find a way." A few days later, Zhang received new news. In Wei, Zhouyu has been executed, and Prince Jin has returned and become the new ruler. Zhuanggong heard this and quickly made a calculation. Wei's troubles are temporarily settled. In the five-state attack on Xing, the real force pressing against us was mostly Song. Song holds high rank and heavy prestige and used that opportunity to threaten us. This is a debt I cannot leave unpaid. So he gathered his ministers to discuss strategy. He said openly, "Who should we attack next?" "I intend to start with Song." The ministers had many opinions. Some wanted to march immediately. Some advised patience. Some worried about dragging other states back into another coalition. The hall buzzed with noise. It was then that Zhou spoke. He said calmly, "If Song were acting alone, attacking now would not be a problem. But not long ago, Wei Sheng, Lu, Chen, and Taihai all united to attack us. Everyone still remembers it. If we suddenly attack Song now, the other four states will grow nervous. They will think our turn will come soon. They may unite a second time to help Song. If that happens, we will once again face a multi-state coalition, and the war will be extremely difficult." Zhuanggong asked, "Then what do you think we should do?" Zhou replied, "We need two preparations. First, make peace with Chen. Chen is small, but close, and at any time it could step in to help others. Second, use rich gifts to win over Lu. If Chen and Lu do not stand with Song, then Song will be isolated. When that time comes, attacking Song will be much easier." Zhuanggong agreed and first sent envoys to Chen with gifts and a request for peace. But at first, Marquis Chen refused even to grant an audience. His attitude was clear. "During the siege of Zhang, Song was our leader. If I accept Zheng's peace now, it will look like I am breaking faith with Song. I don't want to carry that responsibility." When Yuanggong heard this, he was unhappy. He said, "Chen dares reject us only because it relies on Song and Wei. Wei is internally unstable and can hardly help itself. Once I win over Lu and gather forces from Qi and Lu, I will strike Song first, then return to settle matters with Chen." Zhou cautioned him, "From Chen's point of view, our peace request may indeed look suspicious. That is why he refuses. I have an idea. Send troops to pretend to hunt, but in truth, cross into Chen and seize people and goods. Afterward, send a skilled envoy carrying those same people and goods back and apologize sincerely. When Marquis Chen sees that we admit fault and make amends with our own hands, he will find it easier to trust our intention to make peace." Zhuanggong approved the plan. Soon, Zheng's border commanders took 5,000 soldiers and crossed into Chen under the pretense of hunting, seizing many villagers and much grain and property, enough to fill 100 wagons and return to Zheng. The Chen border minister reported immediately, and Marquis Chen called his officials to discuss what to do. In the middle of their discussion, someone reported, "Zheng's envoy Ying Keoshu has arrived. He brings a letter from Zheng Yuanggong, along with the captured people and goods, and is waiting at the palace gate for an audience." Marquis Chen asked Prince Ida, "What is Zhen's envoy doing here now?" Prince Tu said, "When a state sends an envoy, it means they still wish to maintain relations. If you refuse to see him now, it will only make us look guilty. Better to receive him first." Marquis Shen agreed. Ying Keoshu entered, bowed, and presented the letter. In the letter, Zheng Yuanggong admitted faults openly, returned everyone and everything, and apologized sincerely, expressing his hope that Zheng and Cheng could become like brothers. Marquis Chen's suspicion dissolved immediately. He treated Ying Keoshu with respect and sent Prince Sabak with him to Zhen, formally accepting peace. With Chen stabilized, Zhuanggong turned back to Song. He asked Zhou, "What now?" Zhou replied, "Song Shanggong holds high rank and is a major state. Even the Zhou king treats him partly as a guest. Such a man cannot be attacked lightly. You have not gone to Luoyang to pay court to King Wan of Zhou for several years. First, it was the meeting with Qi at Shimen, then the five-state siege. Now, the timing is open again. You should go to Luoyang, pay respects to the king, and restore your proper relationship as a subject. After this, we can announce publicly that the campaign against Song is carried out by order of the king. Then, with Qi and Lu as our allies, everything becomes legitimate." Zhuanggong agreed. King Wan of Zhou had been on the throne 3 years. Zhuang arranged internal affairs, left Crown Prince Hu in charge, and traveled with Zhou to Luoyang. They arrived on the first day of the 11th month, a day when officials gathered to congratulate the king. Zhou Haijin advised King Wan to treat Zhuang with extra favor to set an example for other lords. But the king resented Zheng, believing it had grown too powerful and still holding anger over Zheng's earlier seizure of grain from the royal fields. So when Zhuang entered the hall, the king spoke coldly. His first question was a sharp one. "How was your harvest this year?" Zhuang answered politely, "Thanks to your majesty's good fortune, we suffered no drought or flood. Our harvest was good." King Wan said with a mocking tone, "Good. Since you have enough grain, then the wheat from Wenyu and the rice outside Chengaju, those fields your men harvested before, I will keep for myself." Everyone in the hall understood the insult. Zhuang face did not change, but inside he felt deeply humiliated. He completed the ritual, asked to withdraw, and received no feast or honors. The king gave him only 10 carts of coarse granular milletwits, the tone of someone sending a beggar away. Outside, Zhuang said to Zhou, "I regret coming." His words were cold from beginning to end, and even this gift was given in mockery. "I want to refuse these wagons." "How should I say it?" Zhou replied, "Our high status among the lords is not only because we are strong, but because your father and you served as chief ministers to the Zhou court. The king's gift, whether much or little, is always royal favor. If you return it, people will say Xing has broken with the king. Then all the other states will question our authority. We must accept it. We endured this once. The time will come for us to turn things around." They were still speaking when a servant came in and announced, "Zhou Haijin is at the door requesting an audience." Zhou Haijin left the palace and personally went to visit Xingyan Zhuang, where he was staying. As soon as he stepped through the door, he was all warmth and politeness, without the slightest hint of arrogance. Once they sat down, Zhou first asked a few kind questions, chatting about the journey, whether the road had been hard, and whether Zhuang was getting used to life in Luoyang. Then they moved on to talking about court affairs and the situation among the various states. Zhou tone was gentle the whole time, making it feel as if he truly wanted to be friends, not just perform a formal courtesy call. The two of them talked for a very long time. Only when it was almost time for Zhou to return to the palace did he finally get up and take his leave. Before he left, Zhou quietly had a servant send over 2 carts loaded with colorful silk. The servant spoke in a low voice and said, "This is a small token from our lord. Please ask Lord Zheng to accept it." After they left, Zhang Zhuang found this a little strange. He called Zhou over and asked him, "Zhou was so warm with me today and even sent me 2 carts of silk. What do you think he is trying to do?" Zhou thought for a moment and said, "My lord, do you remember that King Wan has 2 sons? The elder is called the proper crown prince. The younger is called Qi, the king's beloved younger son. King Wan told Zhou long ago to pay special attention to his younger son. If one day there is a struggle over the crown prince's position, this younger son, Qi, will probably make a move. Zhou is cozying up to you now to prepare a way out for himself in advance. If a crown prince struggle really breaks out in the palace later, he wants you to be his outside support." Zhuang nodded and then asked, "So if I accept these bolts of silk from him, what good does that do me?" Zhou smiled and said, "It can be very useful. Your coming to Luoyang to pay court to the king is something all the lords already know. Everyone is watching and wondering, how will the king treat the Lord of Zhang, and how will the Lord of Zhang go back home? We can split the silk from Zhou 2 carts into 10 bundles, then load each bundle onto a separate chariot. On top of each chariot, we drape a piece of embroidered cloth and cover it all with fine brocade. From a distance, it will look exactly like royal gifts bestowed by the Zhou king. Once we leave Zhou territory and pass through the other states on the way home, we will announce to the outside world, these are bolts of silk the Zhou king bestowed on Xing. Besides that, the king has also granted me a set of bright red bow and arrows that symbolize the right to lead punitive expeditions on behalf of the Son of Heaven. Because the state of Song has long failed to come to court, has not offered tribute, and does not act like a loyal subject, the king has ordered me, Xingbo Wuxing, to lead troops to punish Song. We will place a set of red bow and arrows on each chariot as a display. When the other lords see this, they will be convinced that Zheng is acting on the Son of Heaven's orders, not just starting a private war. Then we issue formal proclamations everywhere, loudly declaring all the ways Sangha has broken the rules. When the lords hear it, they will think, this is the king's command. Zheng is carrying out the royal will, not fighting just for itself. If we do not respond, we are disobeying the Zhou king and offending the Son of Heaven. Naturally, no one will dare refuse so easily. The more Zhou spoke, the more detailed his plan became. In the end, he summed it up like this. My lord, we are simply using the silk Zhougong sent as a prop to create the illusion of royal gifts. With the red bow and arrows as ceremonial symbols, everything will look real. Once this reputation is set up, we can borrow the king's name to call the world to arms and invite Qi and Lu to help us attack Song. By then, even though Song is a large state, it will not be able to withstand a coalition that claims to act on the Son of Heaven's command. Zheng Yan Zhuanggong was delighted. He clapped Zhou on the shoulder and said, My dear minister, you are truly clever. Your plan covers everything. I will do exactly as you suggest. Later, someone wrote a poem about this event. The idea was roughly this. A few carts of silk were not a grand reward and could not compare to fields full of grain, but Zheng used this tiny bit of reputation, borrowing the name of the Zhou king, and actually stirred the lords into action, so that in the end, the battlefield of Song shifted to the region around Suyang. After this, Zheng Zhuanggong left Zhou territory and started his journey home. Along the way, he followed Zhu's plan. He had his men raise tall banners and drive impressive chariots. The chariots were covered with embroidered brocade. Inside were the silks and the red bow and arrows placed in the center. Whenever they passed through another state, he sent envoys and officials to announce, loudly, the Son of Heaven has issued an order. The state of Song has long failed to appear at court, has shown no respect for the king, and has ignored the proper conduct of a subject. The Zhou king commands his minister and court officer, Zhenbo Wusheng, to lead troops to punish Song and restore proper order. As for the lords of all other states, if you truly respect the Son of Heaven, you should send troops to support Zheng and join in punishing Song. If anyone refuses to send troops, that is disobedience to the royal command and defiance of the king. Along the route, the ministers and people of other states heard this and saw Zheng's procession, with its red bows and what looked like royal rewards of silk. Most of them took it as the truth. This news quickly reached Song. In the palace, Song Shanggong was told that Zhang Zhuanggong was coming to punish Song on the Zhou king's orders, and his face went pale. He was terrified. His thoughts were a tangle. Did the Zhou king really issue such an order? If it is real, then I have become a publicly recognized disloyal subject under heaven. If it is fake, then Zheng is far too bold to dare forge the king's command. He could not decide what to do, and hurriedly sent a secret envoy to Wei Zhuanggong, asking, You have dealings with both Zheng and Qi. Help me think of a way to smooth things over. Wei Zhuanggong, after reading the letter, realized the matter was serious. He wrote to Qi, and the two of them agreed to step in and mediate. Their plan was to arrange a place where Song Shanggong and Zhun Zhuanggong could sit down face to face and talk things through, at least on the surface, so they could settle old scores and call it even. Qi Shuanggong, Wei Zhuanggong, and Song Shanggong finally agreed to meet at a place called Wa'u. Before that, Song Shanggong sent gifts and letters and invited Wei Zhuanggong to meet him first at a place called Quangquai. The two would talk privately there, then travel together to Wa'u to meet Qi Shigong. Qi Shigong, for his part, arrived at Wa'u on time, but they waited and waited, and Zheng Yuanggong never showed up. Qi Shigong looked around, grew annoyed, and said, If Zhangbo is not coming, there is no point in this mediation. I think we should end it. I am going home. Song Shanggong quickly stopped him, urging him to stay. He promised, Please don't leave yet. Zhangbo is relying on this acting under royal orders banner and finds it hard to step down right now. If we first sign an agreement for peace, there will still be a chance to persuade him in the future. If you leave now, the relationship between Qi and Song will be cut off at once. That will harm you more than help you. Qi Shigong said aloud, Very well, I will not leave for now. But in his heart he was thinking, I'll sign this alliance with Song to keep that connection stable for the moment. As for Zheng, I will watch how things develop. So Qi Shigong and Song Shanggong concluded an alliance at Wa'u. On the surface, it was an agreement to maintain friendship and help each other in times of trouble. Shi Que signed and smiled, but inside, he kept his reservations, planning to adjust his position later according to the situation. Only the relationship between Song and Wei truly became closer through this episode. Song Shengong and Wei Xuangong sat together and talked at length about the old events. The five-state coalition against Song, peace negotiations, and paying court to the Zhou king. By speaking openly, they drew nearer to each other again. After that, the two rulers each returned home to their own states. Now the scene cuts back to Luoyang. King Wan of Zhou had long wanted to push Zheng Wanggong out of his position as a chief minister at court and replace him with his more trusted Guogong Jifu, giving Guo control over government. Earlier, Zhougong Haijian had kept advising him. The Zen rulers, father and son, across generations, have helped the Zhou house fight its battles. If you simply drive Zhengbo out directly, the Zhou royal house will lose face. Since you want to use Guogong, why not do it this way? Appoint Guogong as right chief minister and Zhenbo as left chief minister. In name, their ranks are the same, but you hand the real power of government to Guogong. That way, Zhenbo still has a title to preserve his face, and Guogong can manage state affairs for you. King Wang thought this compromise was acceptable and followed the suggestion. From then on, the documents at court still wrote left chief minister Zhenbo, but the actual decisions were mostly made by right chief minister Guogong Ji. When Xinzhuangong later heard of this arrangement, he only gave a faint smile and said, "I already expected that King Wan would not strip me of my title outright. He is simply shifting the real power over to Guoguang." Soon after, when he heard that Qi and Song had formed an alliance, he became alert and called Zhu to ask, "What do you think of this Qizong alliance?" "How should we respond?" Zhu replied, "Qi and Song are not old partners with generations of deep trust. Their alliance now is mostly because Wei has been speaking between them and because of the current political pressure. That means the alliance is not very solid. Qi has its own calculations, and Song has its own worries. Neither side fully trusts the other. Right now, you can borrow King Wan's name and issue commands to the outside world, saying, 'Let the Lord of Lu act as intermediary and lead Qi to help the Zhou king punish Song.' Lu and Qi are neighbors and in-laws, having married into each other's families for generations. If Lu's ruler takes action, Qi's ruler will not openly oppose him. Besides that, you can send envoys to the small states of Kaiwei, Cheng, and Shu, ordering them one by one to send troops and join in the public punishment of Song. If anyone refuses, we can accuse them of defying the king's command and send troops to teach them a lesson. That way, our forces will look like they are restoring order on the king's behalf, not simply settling Zheng's private grudge." Xuanggong, again, found this reasonable and carried out the plan. He first sent envoys to Lu and said, "If we defeat Song this time and take cities and land, all the territory east of Song will be given to Lu." Prince Hui of Lu was a greedy man. As soon as he heard this generous offer, he agreed on the spot. He returned and reported to his ruler, and the matter was quickly settled. Lu and Qi then agreed to join Zhang at a place called Zhongchu. Qi Shigong sent his younger brother Yi Zhongnian as general with 300 war chariots. The ruler of Lu sent Prince Hui as general with 200 war chariots. Their combined forces arrived at Zhongchu on schedule and joined Zhenguanggong's army. On the Zhang side, Zhuanggong commanded the central army himself and had by his side his capable generals, Prince El Gao Qumi, Yang Koshu, and Gong Sun Yi. He also had a huge battle flag made, larger than usual, called Mao Hu. On the flag were for large characters, "Punish evil by heaven's mandate." The flag was mounted on a richly decorated chariot, and on that chariot were displayed the red bow and arrows, symbolizing the right of a chief minister to lead punitive campaigns. One look at the flag, and the chariot told everyone, "This is not a private feud. This is a campaign on behalf of heaven." When the army set out, the sight was impressive. Yi Zhongnian commanded the left wing, Prince Hui commanded the right wing, and Xinzhuangong took the center. They marched in full force toward the borders of Song. Prince Hui moved quickest and reached a place called Loqiu first. The Song generals led their troops out to meet him. Impulsive and eager to win first merit, Prince Hui personally led the charge at the very front, driving his chariots and soldiers straight into the Song army. The battle did not last long before the Song lines collapsed. Many of their soldiers threw away their armor and fled in all directions. In this fight, the Lu army captured more than 250 prisoners. Prince Hui was overjoyed and immediately sent a fast rider back with the good news to Zheng Wanggong, then personally invited Zhuanggong to come to Luoqiu. When Zhuanggong arrived at the battlefield, he saw all the Song captives kneeling in neat rows and the fallen Song banners tossed aside. He could not help nodding again and again, saying, "Prince Hui has truly made a great contribution this time." On the spot, he had the merit recorded and placed Prince Hui at the top of the list. Then, he ordered cattle and sheep to be slaughtered, allowed the whole army to rest and feast for 3 days, and rewarded the troops. After 3 days, Zhuanggong began to arrange the next stage of the offensive. He ordered Yin Qiushu and Prince Hui to attack the city of Zhao, with Prince El leading troops to support them. He ordered Gongsun Yi and Ye Zhangnian to attack the city of Fang, with Gao Qumi providing backup. Zhuanggong himself stayed in the main camp at Luxiao, waiting for victory reports to come in from every direction. Back in the state of Song, things were not looking good. When Song Shanggong heard that the 3 armies of Qilu and Zhang had already marched into his territory, his face turned ashen. He immediately ordered his men to summon the Grand Marshal, Kong Fujia, to discuss what to do. As soon as Kong Fujia entered the hall, Shanggong asked him, "The 3-state coalition is already at our borders, and they are saying they are acting under the Zhou King's command to punish Song. What do you think? Is there still any way out for us this time?" Kong Fujia replied, "I have already sent men to Luoyang to find out the truth. The Zhou King did not issue any command to punish Song. Zheng Bo, claiming he is acting on the Son of Heaven's orders, is fake. He is forging the royal command. Qi and Lu have most likely been tricked by Xing as well. Even though the Zhou King did not order this, the 3 states have already joined forces and their troops are right in front of us. We cannot defeat them in a short time. But this does not mean we have no chance at all." Shanggong hurriedly asked, "You say there is a way, but Zen is fighting hard right now and just won a big victory. How could he possibly be willing to pull his troops back so easily?" Kong Fujia said, "Zheng is relying on a forged royal order, and Qi and Lu are following Zheng's lead. Instead of dealing with these 3 directly, we should look for strength elsewhere. Do you remember a few years ago when 5 states attacked Zan? Back then, the coalition was made up of Song, Lu, Chen, Kai, and Wei. Later, Lu accepted Zheng's bribes and is now standing on Zheng's side. Chen has also made peace with Zheng and will not fight for us. Only Wei and Tai still have some distance and resentment towards Zhen. Now that Zhen Zhuanggong has personally led the army to fight us here in Song, he has brought many troops with him. That means there are not many left guarding Zheng's own cities. The Zhen army is concentrated on our land, which means their home front is weak. My lord, you could send me with troops and generous gifts to ask Wei for help, and at the same time, try to pull Kaisai in as well. If Wei and Kai agreed to send troops and take the back roads straight at Xing's capital, Yingyang, then as soon as Zheng Zhuanggong hears that his homeland is under attack, he will be forced to rush back to save it. Once Zhang pulls out, do you think the armies of Qi and Lu will still stand around in Song doing nothing? Of course, they will also go home." Shanggong's eyes lit up. He said, "That is a good idea. The only problem is, that Wei may not be willing to help us. If I send someone else, they may not be trusted." Kong Fujia smiled and said, "The new ruler of Wei Shuanggong has only just cleaned up the mess created by the usurper, Zhou. His state has not been stable for long. If you send anyone else, he may be suspicious. If I go in person, with heavy gifts, he will take it seriously. Once I reach Wei, I can then help guide Sai and bring them into the plan as well. My lord only needs to give me 200 war chariots, and I will set out at once." Shanggong agreed immediately. He ordered men to prepare the troops and chariots and brought out gold, white jade, and colorful silk as precious gifts, then sent Kong Fujia off as envoy to Wei. Kong Fujia marched through the night and reached Wei, where he explained Song's situation in full to Wei Zhuanggong and presented the gifts. He said, "Right now, the armies of 3 states are pressing down on us in Song. Zheng Yuangang is fighting here with great enthusiasm, so his own borders must be poorly defended. If Wei is willing to take this opportunity to strike at Yingyang, Yingxing, you will not only rescue Song, but also weaken Xing in the process. In the future, Wei's position in the Central Plains will be more secure and more respected. Wei Xuanggong realized how rare this opportunity was and agreed to send troops. He ordered the right minister, Yuzhe Yezhou, to lead an army and march together with Kong Fujie, taking the smaller side roads directly toward Yingyang and Zheng. At that time, back in Zheng, the Crown Prince Hu and Jizhu were in charge of state affairs. Suddenly, they received a report from the border scouts. Kong Fujie of Song and Yuzhelizhou of Wei have slipped in along a side route and have reached the walls of Yingyan. They are raiding outside the city, seizing people and livestock, burning villages, and carrying off countless people and goods. Prince Hu and Jizhu, upon hearing the report, immediately ordered the city gates shut and the walls manned. They sent messages in all directions to call up reinforcements. But before long, the Songwei army had already swept through the countryside, taking a wide circle of loot, and was slowly withdrawing. Yu Ziazhou wanted to press the advantage and attack the city. He said, "Since we are already at the gates, why not take the city and earn a great victory?" Kong Fujie quickly stopped him and said, "Our force is a raiding army. Raiding means hitting when the enemy is unprepared, then moving on as soon as we succeed. We have already thrown Zheng's rear into chaos and taken people and goods. This means our mission is already a success. If we keep lingering under the walls of Yangyang and Zheng Wanggong returns from the front, we will find ourselves caught between his army outside and the city's defenders inside. Then we will be attacked from both front and back, and we may not even be able to escape. I think we should find a way out of here as fast as we can." Yu Ziazhou thought about it and agreed. They decided to circle around and return home by borrowing the roads of the small state of Dai. They sent an envoy to Dai and said, "We are the joint army of Song and Wei. We have finished our campaign and are returning home. We would like to use your roads and pass through your territory." The ruler of Dai heard this and assumed the Songwei army was planning to attack him along the way. Terrified, he immediately shut the city gates and manned the walls, ready to fight. When Kong Fujie saw Dai closing its gates and refusing to let them pass, he grew angry. So he set up 2 camps about 10 li from the capital of Dai, one in front and one behind, preparing to attack the city by force. Dai, for its part, refused to give in and defended the walls with all its strength. The 2 sides fought back and forth. Sometimes the Songwei army had the upper hand, sometimes the defenders of Dai drove them back. The battle swung both ways, and for a while, no one could win a decisive victory. Kong Fujie realized that this kind of stalemate was no solution. He sent messengers rushing to Tai, asking them to send troops to help break the deadlock. Right around this time, a stream of messages began to arrive at Zheng's main camp. First came a report from Yin Koshu, "We have captured the city of Gao." Immediately after that, Gongsun Yi sent his own success report. "The city of Fang has also fallen." Both columns had taken their targets and sent fast riders back to the main camp at Luxiu to spread the good news. At that very moment, the urgent dispatch from Prince Hu in Yingyang also arrived in Zhuanggong's hands. Xing Zhuanggong held in one hand the victory reports from the front, and in the other, the plea for help from home. At the front lines, he was winning battle after battle. Behind him, his homeland had just been hit by a surprise raid. So what should he do next? Should he keep pressing his attack in Song, or should he immediately turn his army around to save his own country? Which path will he choose? We will continue that part of the story in the next episode. Chinese culture mini lesson. Which jobs made the most money in ancient China? When you hear the most profitable job in ancient China, your first reaction might be something glamorous. The 13 hongs of Guangzhou, or romantic overseas trade with ships sailing across the ocean. But if we talk about what was truly stable, insanely profitable, and most likely to make someone rich overnight, the answer is actually hidden in the most ordinary corner of daily life. Salt. You might laugh and say, "Salt? You mean the stuff I just sprinkle in my kitchen?" But in a world without refrigerators, salt was literally life itself. People needed salt to eat. Meat needed salt to be preserved. Armies needed salted grain and meat to march and fight. You can think of salt in ancient China as something like oil today. Life is hard without it. Life is impossible without it. Picture this. In a walled city, everyone needs salt every single day. But salt does not appear just anywhere. Only a few regions have salt wells, salt lakes, or good coastal salt fields. Once those places are discovered, it is basically like finding an oil field today. That entire area is destined to get rich, and the cost of producing salt was not very high, but the profit margin was enormous. Just that profit alone was enough to make a lot of people's eyes shine. So, starting from the spring and autumn and warring states periods, salt became something the government watched very, very closely. The state either ran the salt industry itself, or at least sent special officials to sit on top of it, staring at every bag and every cart, terrified that someone might secretly make money from it. You can picture the scene. A stern salt official standing before piles of salt stacked like little white hills, counting the bags with a straight face, while soldiers behind him watch every wagon that comes and goes. By the time of the Qin dynasty, the policy got even harsher. Salt and iron were run directly by the government. The state had a monopoly. Ordinary people were not allowed to touch them at all. If someone was bold enough to secretly sell salt, it was almost like smuggling hard drugs today. If things were light, they were sentenced. If things were heavy, they could lose their head. But no matter how strict the law was, super high profit always has its own gravity. The base cost of salt was low, but the selling price could be 20 times, 30 times higher. That kind of price gap guaranteed that private salt dealers would never completely disappear. They were like shadows that kept coming back. You can imagine another scene. Late at night, in the middle of nowhere, a shabby wagon slowly creaks along a dirt road. A few men pass heavy salt bags from one cart to another, whispering to each other, constantly glancing back, terrified of hearing the sound of soldiers' boots on the road. These people were not just random peddlers. Some of them later became very famous rebels. At the end of the Sui dynasty, Cheng Yaojin. At the end of the Tang dynasty, Huang Chao. At the fall of the Song into the Yuan, Jiang Shicheng. All of them made their first fortunes smuggling salt, then used that money to raise troops and rebel. It sounds like a wild legend, but it is literally history. Later, in the Ming and Qing dynasties, the government realized that running salt directly was exhausting, even for the state itself. So they changed strategy and handed the business over to licensed merchant groups. These salt merchants held official certificates that allowed them to legally purchase salt at the salt fields and then transport it to different regions. Legal, however, did not mean easy. In exchange for their license, salt merchants had to take on heavy obligations for the state. Every year, they were required to move huge amounts of salt from the production sites to government depots, on time and in full dot. It sounded like a burden, and it was. But do not feel sorry for them too quickly. Hidden inside that burden was an enormous profit. Once a merchant got a salt license, a salt permit, it was like being handed a personal money printing machine. They could buy low at the salt source, sell high in the distribution regions, and the difference in price was enough to make them staggeringly rich. This created a strange phenomenon. Salt officials and salt merchants quietly became two of the fattest, most lucrative groups in Ming and Qing society. Picture a salt official in his wide robe, sitting comfortably in his office, sipping fragrant tea, while a line of salt merchants waits outside, arms full of gifts, hoping he will turn a blind eye here and there. One look at that scene, and you immediately understand why salt posts were always among the most popular, most sought after, and most comfortable official positions. The classic example is the salt merchants of Zhou. This region sat on top of some of the richest salt resources in the empire. The salt merchants there were so wealthy, they could literally buy up entire streets. The mansions they built were so lavish that the front gate alone might cost you a whole year's income. The gardens they designed in Yangzhou were so refined they could rival those of the imperial family. The Qianlong emperor came to the south 6 times, and 5 of those times he stayed in the homes of Yangzhou salt merchants. Think about that for a second. If the emperor is staying at your place, how poor could you possibly be? The carriages that salt merchants prepared for Qianlong were said to be so soft inside they felt like beds. As the carriage moved along the road, it felt more like floating than riding. The salt merchants also had to prepare enormous amounts of silver and gifts for the emperor. Just one southern tour by Shanlong could cost a single salt merchant several million taels of silver, but they did not really complain because every year their profits from salt were even higher than that. So, salt merchants became some of the richest people in the country. If you translated their wealth into modern numbers, many of them would absolutely rank on a global rich list. Of course, salt was not the only profitable line of work in ancient China. There were a lot of trades. By the Tang Dynasty, people were already talking about 36 trades and 72 professions. Every kind of business existed, but very few lines of work could produce wealth so vast that 3 generations of descendants could not spend it all. Salt merchants were one of those few. Another example is something you probably have heard of, the 13 Hongs of Guangzhou. The 13 Hongs were officially approved foreign trade firms in the Qing dynasty. That is, only these 13 houses were allowed to trade with foreigners. This was not normal business. It was monopoly business. Foreign merchants who wanted tea, silk, porcelain, or other Chinese goods had to go through these firms. They had no choice, which meant that the 13 Hongs could set the terms and capture almost all the profit in between. Picture the scene on the Pearl River in Guangzhou, a busy riverside with ships arriving from distant lands, their holds full of silver and goods. The Chinese Hong merchants stand on the docks in long robes, calm and composed. The foreign merchants are sweating, anxious to close deals. But the Hong merchants are in no hurry at all. They might even deliberately push prices down or show some attitude, because they know one absolute truth. You do not have to buy today, but if you want to buy, you can only buy from me. That is the power of monopoly. The wealth of the 13 Hongs was beyond imagination. The leading Hong merchant, Wu Bingjian, also known as Hakwa, was so rich that, converted to today's numbers, he could sit on top of the world's rich list. The Wall Street Journal once called him the richest merchant in the world, the greatest commercial fortune on earth in his time. Think about that. A Chinese merchant, in the eyes of Western newspapers, was the biggest businessman on the planet. It sounds exaggerated, but it was not. It was just the reality of monopoly's trade. However, the 13 Hongs had one weakness. Their existence depended completely on a very specific political setup. Once that system collapsed, as it did with the Opium War and the opening of treaty ports, the entire Hong structure disappeared. It was a glorious business, but it belonged to only one particular chapter of history. Compared with that, the salt trade ran through thousands of years. Dynasties rose and fell. New laws came and went, yet in every era, there was always someone getting rich off salt, and someone else losing their life over salt. In that sense, salt was the most stable, longest lasting, and most consistently high-profit business in ancient China. By now, maybe you already have a few images in your mind. Smugglers carrying heavy salt bags through the darkness of the night, grand banquets under bright lanterns in the Yangzhou salt merchant's mansion, Hong merchants on the busy docks of Guangzhou, rich beyond belief. These people were the most skilled, most daring, and most relentless business legends of their time. Real wealth in history did not always come from grand voyages or royal gambles. Sometimes, the most profitable business was hidden in something as small and ordinary as a pinch of white salt on your dinner table.
The sky in light, Nua healed the broken heart. Fuxi traced the world's design. Every age leaves stories bright. Yaya dynasty shaped bronze. Shang dynasty cast oracle. Qin dynasty forged the great walls, Han dynasty opened Silk Road winds. 3 Kingdoms dynasty turned war to filled with art. Song Dynasty raise learning's flame.